All right, this is the beginning of a new week of the morning show. Today is Tuesday, the 12th of July. As I mentioned, Monday, no longer a morning show done on that day. However, I do have a few minutes of a recording that I did yesterday. I'm not going to share it now. Now, today is the day, the 7th, January 6th Select Committee meeting. Representative Raskin was being spoken to on MSNBC. He said that the testimony of Pat Cipollone, I guess it was yesterday or the day before, 8 hours of testimony. Some of that will be featured in video footage. And he said that he did not contradict really any of the testimony that they previously heard, including that of Cassidy Hutchinson, who, as you know, she testified to the fact that Trump was fully aware that there were firearms on January the 6th. He wanted the magnetometers turned off as those people came into his rally at the Ellipse, which preceded the failed insurrection on January 6th. And then, yes, he wanted them to march down to the Capitol and basically continue with the failed insurrection. Of course, he was hopeful, Trump, that it would succeed and give him 4 more years in power. That did not happen. That did not happen. It also didn't happen for the failed Tony Navarro Green Bay sweep, where they pitch the ball to Pence. Pence grabs the ball. He runs down the end zone. Touchdown! Mike Pence gives himself 4 more years as VP, and Trump 4 more years as your president. Didn't happen, folks. Again, everyone, once again, huge round of applause for Mike Pence. No, people are portraying him as a hero out there. I've seen some stuff. Oh, Mike Pence, the hero. He was doing his job. He never had the power to overturn the presidential election. And he asked, several attorneys about it. Hey, can I overturn the election in favor of Trump? They said, no, Mike, you can't do that, Mike.
I am a Superman, and I'm on my way to whatever lies ahead while aging day by day. And I don't know where I'll be next, or if I'll be at all. I'm not privy to life's protocol. Seeking gold, I don't look for fame. That's all in my past now. It's another game. Though I no longer need the things I did before, I can't help but think there's so much more. Tell me what you're thinking. This I want to know. Maybe you could stay. I am so alone. Lay you down upon this bed. I feel heavy and the night is taking over. There's no moon up in the sky. We can sleep until it's light. Let the darkness be our blanket.
It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. I'm in mobile mode heading over to the mobile, make that the Gulf gas station. Now, the mobile station, that was in Homer, New York. That's where Malibu got her laser power wash over the weekend. And I also waxed her myself. And boy, look at all that water beaded up on her hood. Malibu, you're looking fantastic.
It's no promise, but it's Malibu's plan. Tell me anything if you'd be so kind. Take me away from this restless mind. Lay you down upon this bed. Today has been a long and endless journey. If you think that it's alright, we could dream right through this night. Let the darkness be our blanket.
Yeah, so anyway, like I was saying, I have about a 20-minute piece, an audio piece that I'm going to insert in today's program. Probably not before my job, maybe on my lunch hour. Yeah, some stuff that happened yesterday, 7-Eleven, absolutely, on my lunch hour from the Gulf gas station. Anyway, when I get there, I'll have some more to say.
You are so composed, you know how to live. True to yourself and always ready to forgive. And to make it seem so easy, almost like it's fun. Must be peaceful when your day is done. The sun is setting once again. It won't be back for hours, so until then, lay me down upon this bed. I feel heavy and the night is taking over. There's no moon up in the sky. We can't sleep until it's light. Let the darkness be our blanket. Lay down.
All right, they also talked this morning about the Republicans' chances of recapturing the Senate, and they got people like Herschel Walker. Again, Herschel Walker, not meaning to be disparaging of the man, but he's come out with some stupid, silly things that he said. No, stupid stuff, absolutely. And now it has to do with air. He made some comment yesterday about the air over here mixing with the air over there in China. And I've had some wacky stuff from him. One was the whole thing about evolution, where it was Herschel who was questioning in his mind, how come there are still apes out there today? If evolution is true, how come there are still apes? Now, folks, if you had an understanding of Charles Darwin and natural selection, then he would understand that's totally normal, the fact that we still have apes out there. And yeah, that makes me really, really want to do the Simpsons thing. Tony McClure, again, from Broadway, absolutely. It might be off Broadway. But yeah, he's got that problem. And then, of course, how many kids he had. I had this story one day on the morning show. It was a story. He had one kid. His name was Christian. The next day, suddenly, out of the blue, a child that no one ever knew about, at least in the public eye. And then he had, two. And then the very next day, Herschel had 4 children, only one of which, Christian, we knew about in the past. Now, again, the guy, he hasn't been exactly forthcoming. He said a lot of silly things. And as far as I understand it, he's trailing in the polls now to Mr. Warnock, his Democratic challenger, and Trump. Boy, oh boy, Trump, he just cannot get over the fact of his defeat at the hands of Joe Biden, November 2020. Still clinging to it. It was rigged. It was stolen from me. A lot of whining continuing on to this very day. Yeah, so thinking about Herschel Walker and his really misinformed comments about evolution. Yeah, I'm going to bring it out again. The Simpsons, Planet of the Apes.
Help! The human's about to escape.
Get your paws off me, you dirty ape!
He can talk. 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 He can talk.
I can sing!
Oh, help me, Dr. Zayas.
Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Oh, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas.
What's wrong with me?
I think you're crazy.
Want a second opinion?
You're also lazy. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas. Oh, Dr. Zayas. Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas.
Can I play the piano anymore?
Of course you can.
Well, I couldn't before.
This explains everything.
Oh, I love legitimate theater. I hate every ape I see, from chimpanzee to chimpanzee. No, you'll never make a monkey out of me. Oh my God, I was wrong. It was Earth all along. You finally made a monkey.
Yes, you finally made a monkey.
Yes, you finally made a monkey out of me. Dr. Zayas. Thank you.
Oh, thank
it's
you.
great to be back. I just want to say, I wouldn't be here without the support of a very special lady. My always outrageous fiancée, Selma. Take a bow, Sugar Beet. Down in front.
All right, there you have it, Tony McClure again from The Simpsons Planet of the Apes. It's posted out there on YouTube by Jane Smith, and what a fantastic thing that is. In the background there, of course, the legendary Rod Stewart. Anyway, I'm looking here at my mail. It says my photo reached 70,000 views. Yoo-hoo! That's right, folks. I'm popular on Google reviews, 70,000. There's a picture of a building. It says your photo is helping in a big way. Congrats, your post just reached a new milestone. It's now been viewed over 70,000 times, helping lots of people get the information they need. That's fantastic. And the picture is of Liberty Bookstore in Hobart, New York, where I visited a while back. I told a long story of the history of my father in Hobart growing up. Yeah, I used to come up upstate New York when he was a kid, lived down in the city, came up, and I really enjoyed it several summers growing up. Told me about it, took me there when I was a kid on the way to, Cooperstown, Baseball Hall of Fame. And so I've gone back and looked at some of the stuff that's gone on there, see, what the changes were, and talked to some great people there in Hobart, New York. It's a fantastic thing. I'm glad that people are finding it helpful. And we continue now with the thing. Now, what I would usually do after that is I'd bust into another great song of Rod Stewart, maybe one of, ones from his album, If We Fall in Love Tonight, a great love album by Sir Rod Stewart. How about one that I did on my first love album for Faye called For the First Time? So that's like one of those frantic things, that I start typing in for the first time, and then I just bust into it with Rod Stewart. Or I could do Feels Like the First Time by Foreigner. Now, my first love album had a Foreigner song. It wasn't that one. It was Waiting for a Girl Like You. For Faye, you understand.
I'll close your eyes. Is that your smile? I've been looking at you forever, yet I never saw you before. Are these your hands holding mine? Now I wonder how I could have been so blind. And for the first time, I am looking in your eyes. For the first time, I'm seeing who you are. I can't believe how much I see when you're looking back at me. Now I understand what love is. Love is for the first time. Oh yeah. Can this be real? Can this be true? Am I the person I was this morning? And are you the same you? It's all so strange. How can it be? All along this love was right in front of me. And for the first time, I am looking in your eyes. For the first time, I'm seeing who you are. I can't believe how much I see when you're looking back at me. Now I
tune there by Rod Stewart. Now, again, if I do a third Love album for Faye, I've done two. If I do a third, I'm definitely thinking about his song, You're in My Heart, You're in My Soul. That's a fantastic one. Back to the heartbeat of the Tri-County. Let's see what they're talking about.
Today, Christy McVie of Fleetwood Mac, 79 today. Actress Denise Nichols. She's married to Bill Withers back in the day. She was in TV's Room 222. 78 today. Diet Guru Richard Simmons, 74. Cheryl Ladd, one of Charlie's Angels, 71 today. Robin Wilson, lead singer of the Gin Blossoms, also tours with the Smithereens, 57 today. Christy Yamaguchi, gold medal Olympic figure skater, Dancing with the Stars champion, 51 today. Topher Grace at That 70s Show, 44. Michelle Rodriguez, TV's Lost, Avatar, and the Fast and the Furious movies, 44 today. There you have it. Today in history. Today is celebrity birthdays. I'll get it right. On your Tri-County Heartbeat, WCDO.
Well, thank you, Rob Ray. Now, usually I take something off of that, and then I just go for it. For example, you know, he mentioned Charlie's Angels, and he mentioned Cheryl Ladd and her birthday. I think he said 78, 79. Anyway, that's fantastic. And, yeah, then I bust into something, and then I dedicate it to Faye. Faye's an angel in my eyes. So, yes, this one's a long-distance dedication to Faye. And it's from, actually, Charlie's Angels, not the TV show, but I believe the motion picture, Charlie's Angels, yeah, from Tavares. Now, folks, again, that was a Paul McCartney and Wheels about to start. With the Helen Wheels, believe it or not, that's right. Alphabetically, it comes right after that particular song by Tavares. Now, folks, I hope you like these songs that I feature here on the program. If you'd like to hear something else, please let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you'd like to hear. Send me an email, daverule40@gmail.com. I sure like to hear your thoughts. A penny for your thoughts. That's right. Nickel for a kiss, a dime. Well, again, my love is for Faye, but, yeah.
To know where I stand, I've just got to know where I am with you. So here's a penny for your thoughts, a nickel for a kiss, a dime if you tell me that you love me. Penny for your thoughts, a nickel for a kiss, a dime if you tell me that you love me. Walking through the dance. You say you're mine, oh mine. Then soon another face steals your eyes away. It's just a guessing game, and I can't help feeling used. Love should be so down confused. So here's a penny for your thoughts, a kiss, a dime. Tell me that you love me. Tell me that you love me. People love to talk. They say you're using me. Though face to face you swear I'm the only one. If I had a crystal ball, I would gaze into your mind. See what you were thinking if my ship was sinking in your leaving me behind. So here's a penny for your thoughts, a nickel for a kiss, a dime if you tell me that you love me. Penny for your thoughts, a nickel for a kiss, a dime if you tell me that you love me. It should be so darn easy to do.
Look at the time. I gotta go. off to my job where I make my money. Absolutely.
Here we are at the 30th Street
Oh, no, I think we're not at the 30th Street studio with the cast of My Fair Lady. That takes you all the way back to 1956 with a gem, the post-recording conversation of the cast album to My Fair Lady. My favorite number, as I mentioned not too long ago, was An Ordinary Man. That's the one, my favorite, as well as Rex Harrison, who played Professor Henry Higgins. I got to go to my job, folks. I hope you'll join me over the lunch hour. Well, again, I'll have that little piece from yesterday, July the 11th, that I recorded and have not used yet. I'll be back. By Randy Jackson. Okay, continuing the show now at lunch. I'm just starting up my car Malibu. My intention is when Bluetooth becomes active to go to that recording that I mentioned that I had made yesterday on the show. And so that's what I'm waiting for, is for Bluetooth to come active. Again, this was about 20 minutes. My intention is to play this thing, and while it's playing is to drive over to the Gulf gas station and get a cup of coffee. That is my normal lunchtime routine. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, it says that Bluetooth is active. So I'm going to go into my phone here and play this file from, again, yesterday. It's about, I don't know, it's not that long, actually. So I'm starting it up. Okay, welcome to the morning show. It is Friday, and I'm just switching over now to the heartbeat of the Tri-County. That's the wrong file. It's Friday, July. Oh, my bad. Again, I didn't know.
And I read a Foley.
Just missed it. It was about, let's try this one. Steve Perry, of course, Journey with Faithfully. Heartbeat of the Tri-County, just approaching noon. Now, on Sunday Sunrise, I had a couple of great Steve Perry songs from his solo career. It was, WBAB coming right out of the Monsignors show with Oh Sherry. Of course, Sherry Swafford, Steve's old girlfriend from back in the day. And then after that, I added The Foolish Heart. That's right. That was my call. A double shot of Steve Perry right after the Monsignors show. Now, for me, it's Monday, 7-Eleven. I'm not at 7-Eleven. I'm at the Gulf gas station. Yeah, but I thought it was running 7-Eleven. Anyway, this morning, again, it's Monday, so there is no show. What you're hearing is nothing whatsoever. It's something that I'm going to throw away, or maybe throw it out there on another day, like in the middle of the show where it won't be noticed. Absolutely.
You're listening to the Tri-County Heartbeat, WCGO.
Yeah, so I told you, didn't I tell you? It was the Tri-County Heartbeat, or maybe I said it was the Heartbeat of the Tri-County. Either way, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
News. I'm Ed Donahue. The White House, President Biden praised passage of a new gun safety bill. It's an important step. Now we must look forward. We have so much more work to do. The bill has been in effect for 16 days, but it has already been overshadowed by yet another mass shooting at a 4th of July parade near Chicago. Now we can't just stand by. We can't let it happen any longer. With rights come responsibilities. Yes, there's a right to bear arms, but we also have a right to live freely, without fear for our lives. The Illinois shooting is a stark reminder of the limitation of the new gun law. The House committee investigating the Capitol riot returns to primetime this week. Here's the AP's Sagar Magani.
The panel will hold 2 hearings, one tomorrow afternoon focused on how white nationalist groups plotted the insurrection, and another Thursday.
It's a very important hearing. Pay attention.
GOP Congressman Adam Kinzinger will help lead the primetime session, examining the 3-hour stretch when Donald Trump failed to act as supporters stormed the Capitol.
Where was he? What was he doing?
Kinzinger on ABC News is this week with George Stephanopoulos ahead of what could be the panel's last hearing. Steve Bannon has told the committee he is now ready to testify after being one of the highest profile Trump allies refusing to appear. Still, it's unclear how much Bannon intends to cooperate. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Winds have eased as firefighters battle a wildfire that poses a threat to a grove of giant sequoias and a small community in Yosemite National Park, but a heat wave is developing in California. Shares of Twitter are down more than 7% in the first day of trading after Elon Musk said he was abandoning his $44 billion bid for the company, and the social media platform is vowing to challenge Musk in court. This is AP News.
If you were allowed to invite...
All right, now I'm here at the Gulf gas station on what really is Tuesday, and I think I'm about to slam Musk. Yes, slam Elon Musk. Here I go. Never had any intention of buying Twitter. I can tell you that from the get-go. He was just playing with them, threatening to allow Trump and other extremists on the right and the left back on Twitter. Those ones that had been thrown off of Twitter because of what they did, not because of what anyone else did. I mean, Trump, he'll try to blame it on someone else. Sure he will. But again, that's not going to fly. It was Trump, that got himself kicked off of Twitter for his misconduct.
Somebody else's same old
sleeping with the television on. Now, I know someone that does have the guts to come on, and that would be Craig Stevens with Lunchtime with the Oldies in just a moment when I return. All right, like I said, the man has the guts to come on, and this is fantastic.
The Oldies on WCDO.
silver in my tambourine. Telephone man.
You've got Greg Stevens and
That was pretty awesome.
on
You know?
Lunchtime with
Did he say he was like
WCDO.
Mr. Blue Tambourine guy?
No, David of the past. That was actually Green Tambourine. But the idea is the right one, to go right to the birds. Absolutely.
In that jingle jangle moment, I'll come following you. And Phil, too. Yeah, a song that was on my second Love album. Yeah, it was on my second Love album for Faye. It's Genesis with Turn It On Again, the album. And it's Follow You.
Wow, yeah. Follow you, follow me. What a great tune. It's high noon, and I'm switching now, to the heartbeat of the Tri-County to pick up the news.
Committee investigating the Capitol riot say they plan to focus on the way violent far-right extremists answered Donald Trump's siren call to come to Washington on January 6th of last year. President Biden is meeting with Mexican counterpart Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. The White House says their discussions will showcase the underlying strength of their nation's relationship. There's been recent disagreements on issues including energy and Ukraine policy. The Pentagon says it has killed a leader of the Islamic State group in Syria in a drone strike. This is AP News.
If you buy too much, you waste money. If you come up short, you waste time.
All right, so we learned some fascinating things there. It was Trump putting out the siren call for his extremist Trump supporters to join him in Washington on that day. He said it's going to be wild, in one of his tweets. They featured that this morning. I think it might have been Jonathan Lemire on Way Too Early. And yes, I was up early. I watched it. I also watched the story about the sequoias threatened by fire out west. That's right, at Yosemite National Park, and other stories. And of course, this thing about the select committee. Now, again, they've got the testimony of, Ms. Hutchinson. They got the testimony now of Mr. Cipollone. His testimony corroborates completely Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony, where she said Trump was fully aware of the armed nature of his supporters, whether it was AR-15s, grenades. Yeah, Rachel Maddow talked about the weapons that were there on that day ahead of time, planned to be used by the extremists, Oath Keepers, whatever they were, 3%ers, maybe, Proud Boys, Boogaloo Boys, whatever boys they were. She was talking about it last night on her program. And she said the other story from today, not that important. Again, it's a side story. The press is really interested in it, and it has to do with Steve Bannon. Again, he comes out in what is best described as a stunt. A man basically indicted for failing to appear before the select committee, and now he says he's willing to provide testimony at the last minute. They said to him, thanks but no thanks. Your trial will go on time next week. I think it's Monday, his trial. But yeah, that's a stunt. He wanted it out there for his own publicity. And she talked about the man's podcast. That's what he's been doing in 2021, not working for Trump. No privilege of executive privilege for him. No privilege of that whatsoever. He was working, as she described it, as his little podcast. I think that's how she described it. His rather small podcast that's financed by the My Pillow guy, a guy that I've talked about many times, Mike Lindell, the guy with, well, he was the guy that had the prognostication that it would be last August of 21, that Trump would be reinstalled into power and Biden would have to move out. Folks, the My Pillow guy doesn't know jack about this thing. He knows about pillows, I'll give him that. I will stipulate to the fact that the My Pillow guy probably knows a great deal about pillows. But in terms of politics and Trump, he thinks Trump's going to be reinstalled before the 2024 election based on some kind of lawsuit that he has that the Supreme Court is going to vote 9-0 to install or reinstate Trump and kick Biden out of office. Folks, the Supreme Court, they're not going to go anywhere near that. Sure, they'll go near other things. They'll go near things like abortion and basically cancel that fundamental civil liberties for all women all across this fine land if they could, except that many states are not going to allow that to happen. For example, here in New York State, Governor Hochul and the New York State legislature are not going to have that happen here. They're not going to have Clarence Thomas have his way here in New York, or Sam Alito or any of the other extremists on the far right of this far right extreme court. And absolutely. So I've been talking about these lawsuits. Some other people say that Clarence Thomas, he's up to looking at contraception. He's up to looking at gay rights, gay marriage. He's into all that. Sam Alito said, no, this abortion decision, it only covers abortion. It shouldn't be construed to cover anything else. Well, Clarence Thomas, give him some time. He'll convince his colleague and friend Sam Alito to go with it his way. You understand. And now I'm basically going to take it back to what I was doing before, which was, I think it was coming out of the Byrds song, the Mr. Tambourine Man. Actually, it's a Bob Dylan song. The Byrds did a great cover version of it. That song is a fine song, written by Bob Dylan. Now, Bob, all of his songs, again, I've talked about this before, purchased by, might have been Sony Music or might have been whoever, whichever. The Irving Azoff Music Group, I don't know, could have been Universal Music Group, whichever one. All of those songs sold. I've talked about various artists that have done that in this age that we now find ourselves in for various reasons, oftentimes because, they can't really sell the records anymore because people can get that stuff online. You can easily pop online to whatever. YouTube, am I opening up a Pandora's box by saying you could go on to Pandora and listen to any of these great songs? For example, Genesis. Yeah.
See
great tune by Genesis. That's why I included it on Forfait, ... part 2. Back to the Heartbeat track.
It's important that they hire a professional, certified electrician.
Okay, they're in commercial break. I'll be right back. You're listening to a rewind of some stuff that was done yesterday. I'm just going to let it roll. I only got about 4 or 5 minutes left of that. July, Christmas bells hanging by a string. She told you it was your ding-a-ling? Is that what she said? Wow, that's wacky, man. Not as wacky as Billy giving it all up for Lena.
Leading me to that third rail shot. As I wink, she changed her mind. She gave me a night, that's all it was. What does it take until I stop killing myself, wasting my time? Whoa, there's nothing else I can do, 'cause I'm doing it now.
From the 1980 album Glass House is an album which, according to Ultimate Classic Rock, toughened Billy up. Now, wasn't Billy tough already? Well, not according to Ultimate Classic Rock. Otherwise, how could it have toughened him up if he was already a tough guy to begin with? Apparently, well, some of his older songs were like light love ballads, like the ones I included on Forfait, ... either the first album or the second album. On the first love album, it was She's Always a Woman for Faye, which she is, and then the She's Got Away routine, which involves the help of Billy Joel and Don Henley both. It's a long time ago. It takes me back to when Billy was inducted at the Kennedy Center Honors and Don was there. And then on Forfait, Part 2, my favorite Billy Joel song from the album The Stranger, Just the Way You Are, and from his album The Bridge, This Is the Time. Is this the time for This Is the Time? This is not the time. Again, this isn't even supposed to be happening. I don't have a Monday morning show anymore. I'm just messing around on a Monday at my lunch, and this doesn't even count. Anyway, you never heard it. All right, thank you. David Williams there of Yesterday of Monday. Now, there's a couple of things I could do there. I could either bring out Don Henley from the Kennedy Center Honors where he sings She's Got Away, or conversely, I could do the other thing that I was thinking about doing. But I think the Don thing. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Henley. I was a little late there with that, but that's okay.
She's got a way about her. Don't know what it is, but I know that I can't live without her. She's got a way of pleasing. Touches me, I get turned around. She's got a smile that heals me. I don't know why it is, but I have to laugh when she reveals me. She's got a way about her. I don't know what it is, but I know that I can't live without her anyway.
All right, so there you have it. That was Billy. I mean, that was Don. And this is Billy with She's Got Away, from his greatest hits, Volume 1 and 2. So that's really it. The routine on Forfait ... It involves Don Henley, and then I sing it with Billy Joel. That's really when the pressure comes in, when I sing along with Billy Joel on Forfait ... But I think this is the time for This Is the Time. And yeah, that's my call. I don't have to do the routine every time. I can switch it up. So yeah, She's Got Away, and She's Always a Woman. We're on Forfait ... And my favorite Billy Joel song, Just the Way You Are, from the 1977 album The Stranger. And This Is the Time from the album The Bridge. That was on Forfait ... Part 2.
Walked on the beach beside that old hotel. They're tearing it down now, but it's just as well. I haven't shown you everything a man can do. Sometimes it's so easy to let a day slip on by without even seeing each other at all. But this is the time you'll turn back to, and so will I. And those will be days you can never recall. And so we embrace again behind the dunes. This beach is so cold on winter afternoon. But holding you close is like holding the summer sun. I'm home from the memory of days to come. This is the time to remember, 'cause it will not last forever. These are the days to hold on to, 'cause we won't call up when one, two. This is the time. The time is gonna change. You've given me the best of you, but now I need the rest of you.
That really takes me back, you know. Those are the times of our lives, you know, Feng and I walking along the beach. A Kodak moment to be sure. Oh, look at the time. I gotta go, folks. Back to my job again. This is my lunch hour. I'll be back after work. Thank you for listening. Okay, it's after work now, and it's really difficult to know where to begin. There's just so much going on. And that was really a topic that came up on Monsignor Jim Blonde's show on Sunday, coping, you know. The Monsignor even mentioned it. So much is going on, you know. And, for example, I take a brief look at my phone, just looking down at the news stories that I've come across really just this evening. And it's like, wow. Now, it says here at the very top, Trump sues, I'm sorry, not Trump, I apologize, Twitter. Twitter sues Elon Musk for backing out of the $44 billion deal, you know, to buy Twitter. That's right, setting up a long, protracted legal battle. I'm going to love this, I am. And I'm just being honest, I'm going to love this, talking about these legal stories moving forward. This one's going to go on a long, long time. Anyway, and I predicted on my show previously that indeed, or at least in my opinion, Elon Musk was never really serious about buying Twitter to begin with. It was just a game for him. And that's my viewpoint on the thing. Anyway, so I'll have that story. Now, a story by the Post-Gazette out there in Pittsburgh. The United States judge denies the defendant's motion to have just one charge dropped. And he said, no, not going to do that, you know. It's very serious what she did. Her name is Rachel Powell. And, you know, she's one of those, how shall I say, I don't know, kind of a flamboyant, maybe almost a flamboyant rebel, a flamboyant insurrectionist, kind of like the what's that guy's name? The QAnon shaman, Jacob Chansley, one of the other defendants. There's like so many of them, so many interesting, defendants with a lot of, flamboyance, and they were all videoed, multiple times. There was multiple documentarian filmmakers there. And of course, these have all been widely seen now. Jacob Chansley, he pled out guilty to the charges that he was accused of. And of course, had a great story about his lawyer and, how that went and everything. I could go back to that story and the whole QAnon shaman thing. But moving forward, anyway, the judge basically denied that motion, and he reiterated it very clearly in the case. So I'm definitely going to have that story tonight on the program. Ties in very well with all these other ones. I think it's a very important story for my listener. And so I definitely would. There's a story here. Liz Cheney, she said that Trump attempted to contact a January the 6th witness amid panel. And then the next word is, it says INVE ... So you got to guess what that word would be. I'm going to say investigation. The panel investigation investigating Trump and his role in January 6th. I'm betting that's what it is, but I'm not going to open it. Now, we already know that one witness did contact him. That was Raffensperger down there in Georgia, when it was Trump that called Mr. Raffensperger and put the pressure on him to overturn the official tally of the state of Georgia for Mr. Biden. And then, of course, everyone, once again, Mr. Raffensperger, let's give him, applause again. He and Pence both, the press is saying, oh, these are heroes. He stood up and he stopped Trump from doing what he wanted to do, which is what he was telling the guy to find the difference between his tally and Biden's tally, plus one vote more so that it could be Trump that could get 4 more years in the White House. And Mr. Raffensperger said, I'm sorry. And then, of course, here's Trump. He says, well, Brad, let me tell you, Brad, this is the president again. If you can't find the missing votes, just tell people that you made a mistake, that you did the math wrong, you miscalculated. People will understand that, Brad. That happens. Just tell them you made a mistake in the math. And Mr. Raffensperger, no, sir, Mr. President. We've done the math correctly, and again, we've counted them twice, by machine and once a hand count, and again, the results are unchanged. We have certified that, and blah, 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 blah. It goes on for an hour. I'm not going to go on for an hour talking about it, but I'm assuming that Representative Cheney means some other individual who I don't know yet because I haven't read this story. Now, who is this witness that they've been working with, and Trump attempting to contact someone like that? Now, to me, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but that almost smacks of like something like witness tampering. Isn't that like witness tampering? The Don, who is he? Think he's like a gang guy? Is calling this person's a witness? Is that what they're trying to say? When they say Trump attempted to contact a January 6th witness amid the panel's investigation, and that she has contacted the Justice Department, it says here. Oh, now I'm learning more. Wow, yeah, of course the Justice Department needs to know about that right away for possible referral. This whole thing is getting wacky. Anyway, and other stuff, other stories. Now I get this thing flashing up on my screen, and it's from the Post-Gazette. And it says the article requires a subscription, yet 8 weeks only, 99 cents. Now, that makes me want to just bust into a 99 by Toto at this particular time. That's how I ended yesterday's program. I said that. Now, folks, this is Faye actually calling in. Faye is calling in. I'll be right back with that 99 in a moment. All right, great song, Whitesnake. Is This Love? Well, it is for Faye and I apologize. That was Faye on the phone, and we spoke for quite some time. And I told her exactly what I was going to do. I was going to come down to Malibu, my car. I'm sitting in my car now in the driveway at my apartment, and I'm going to do the 99. It's just a matter of which version it's going to be. I kind of like this one posted out there by Clay Culver, but yeah, it's a code. I say 99, I love you. It's really the same thing as really saying Faye, I love you. That's basically a thing. It's a code. So I'm waiting for this thing to come up. Yeah, I am. Absolutely. All right. So yeah, 99. Of course, I also think of Get Smart, the sitcom. 99 portrayed by Barbara Feldman, and 99, you know. All right, talk about that a little bit, but hey, I'm cranking this thing up from 1979. Toto. Okay, that was Toto with 99. So again, there's just so many stars out there like I was talking about before, and it's hard for me to know which one. I got to prioritize now. I'm thinking that this story regarding Trump attempting to contact a January the 6th witness amid the Select Committee's investigation, I think that's a very serious thing if it be true. Now, Liz Cheney, she has shown bravery, you know, a Republican, and, well, cast out from her compeers there, I guess is the word, of Republicans in the House of Representatives for having the guts to stand up and say the truth about Trump and the failed insurrection of January 6th. So too, Mr. Adam Kinzinger, both of them have had the guts to do so. And some other people out there have spoke up. For example, the senator from Utah, Senator Mitt Romney, the other day with his malady of deceit speech regarding Mr. Trump, which I was very happy to report here on Apartment Karaoke. Anyway, so that's the one I'm going to jump right into from the Associated Press. Abruptly raising the question of witness tampering, the January 6th committee revealed today that the former President of the United States, Donald Trump, had attempted to contact a person who was talking to the panel about its investigation of the former president and the 2021 attack on the Capitol. She said, "We will take any effort to influence witness testimony very seriously." Now, the person Trump tried to contact declined to answer or respond to his call. Okay, so it's a guy. We have to know that because both genders have been, they've been questioned by the Select Committee, indeed. So that's a clue, I guess. We're not going to find out right there. You already know. Instead, the person alerted their lawyer who contacted the committee. Is it too early to do a Lawyers in Love with Jackson Brown? Because this is going to be a huge thing, too, for lawyers, as is the whole Elon Musk Twitter thing. It's going to be a lot of lawyer stories, I can tell you, in the future at apartmentkaraoke.com. That's my prediction. Now, the disclosure by Representative Liz Cheney was not the first time that the panel has raised concerns about this whole thing, about witnesses being contacted by Trump's team in ways that could reflect or at least create the appearance of inappropriate influence. Now, before I use the word again, I'm not a lawyer, but I use the word, what about witness tampering? Is that still on the books? I don't even know, but to me, this sounds very suspicious of that. It says it divulged examples. They call it inappropriate influence, if you say so. Now, it divulged examples last week of other times witnesses have received outreach from Trump allies, some suggesting he was aware they were talking to the committee ahead of testimony. Now, that's putting these witnesses under tremendous amount of pressure. And yeah, then it would be Billy Joel, from the album The Nylon Curtain, with Pressure, and not some shortened version, not some truncated version meant for radio play, but the full Pressure with all the verses included, exactly as it was always meant to be. So anyway, a Trump spokesperson did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The hearing today was the 7th for the January 6th committee. Over the past month, the panel has created a narrative of a defeated Trump, detached from reality. There was a wise old man that I once knew. He said to me, "David, there's 4 things in life that are very important that you remember." And I said, "What are they, sir?" And he said, "What's real, what's imaginative, what's important, and what isn't." And I was like, wow. Yeah, now, Trump detached from reality, so he's living in a world of pure imagination, Trump, clinging to false claims of voter fraud, what has come to be called the big lie. Again, I didn't invent the phrase. If I did, I'd take credit for it. If I did, now wouldn't it be fair for me to take credit for it in the type of society that we live in if I would have invented a catchphrase that every anchor person is using across this land when they say Trump and the big lie? Absolutely. I should get something, I feel, but I didn't invent the thing. And yes, sometimes I talk about the number of his mistruths. That's right. His dishonest statements, and in fact, his lies in the Washington Post. They have the database there, but that just includes, folks, the time that he was president of the United States. Of course, in reality, it was January the 20th of 2021 that Joe Biden was inaugurated, and then Trump was out of power and all this stuff. And that's the way it goes, That's the way it is, Some people haven't wanted to accept that fact. Some people have wanted to try some crazy, wacky ways of putting him back in power, like the MyPillow guy and his non-existent lawsuit in which he said the Supreme Court, they'd vote 9-0 to return Trump to power. Again, nonsense stories, Boulder Dash, complete nonsense made up by the MyPillow guy, and I've done dozens of My Pillow Guy stories. I don't have one tonight. I do not. So Trump, detached from reality, clinging to the false claims, never going to let him go, of voter fraud, and working feverishly to reverse his election defeat. And it all culminated with the attack on January 6th, the United States. That's what the committee says. Tuesday's session revealed details of an unhinged late-night meeting at the White House with Trump's outside lawyers suggesting the military seize state voting machines in a last-ditch effort to pursue his false claims of voter fraud. Basically, we were right at the brink of the end of democracy, is what they're describing. We're right at the very edge of the abyss, is what they're describing, in my view. Right here with this stuff. Now, there's been so much of these stories on my show, and all the information's out there, but nowadays people tend to polarize. They go to their own separate news sources and get, what they want to hear, I think, a lot of times. But this is actually factual information from the committee, truth, as opposed to the lies that we've been hearing from Trump and his most avid supporters over all this time now. I'm going to continue reading. The committee investigating last year's attack at the Capitol is working to show how far-right extremists answered Trump's call, what they call the clarion call nowadays, or the siren, the siren call from Trump to come to Washington. And remember the word that he used. He said he said it was going to be. Did he say it was going to be fun? He said it was going to be wild. It's going to be a wild, wild time. That makes you want to bust into the old Cat Stevens song. It's a wild world is what it is. Absolutely. But not right now. As dozens of lawsuits and his claims of voter fraud fizzled out, I've talked about the dozens. The number that I use a lot of times on my show is like around 60. It's the number I got from Willie Geist on the morning show. And that's the last number that I heard that has been about that. So we could say it could be around 5 dozen or so of these failed, lawsuits in battleground states all across our fine land. They've all failed. Trump's attorneys in some of these cases being held financially liable by the judge. I can't wait to get to that story about that woman, Pittsburgh, one of the rebels, the insurrectionists. Apparently, the judge said no when she or her attorneys asked for them to drop just one charge, please. The judge was absolutely not. You're not going to believe this when you hear it, when I get to it, but I'm not there yet. So anyway, Trump met late night, December 18th, with attorneys at the White House before tweeting the rally invitation. Be there, we'll be wild. Like I said, wild, Wow, that's a wild, wild guy. It's a crazy, wacky guy. Trump, this has been widely known, His niece, for goodness sakes, Dr. Mary Trump, said, she actually said he was the most dangerous individual on earth. And I suppose, being his niece, that she would know her uncle, Donald, is a wacky guy. But this is wacky. He says this ahead of time, again, sending out that call to all the extremists, dangerous people, as so stated by the Department of Homeland Security. And this was before Trump even left office. The Department of Homeland Security was sounding the clarion call about these dangerous right-wing extremist militia people. Absolutely. Oath keepers, 3%ers, whatever, the dangerous ones with the firearms and other heavy explosive type weaponry, which now apparently, according to the Supreme Court, don't get me started on the Supreme Court of the United States, but my goodness, it says, be there, will be wild. Members of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers are now facing rare sedition charges, hardly ever seen charges of sedition. Now, this tweet served as a call to action and in some cases a call to arms, said one of the select committee members, Representative Stephanie Murphy of Florida. The panel featured new video from Pat Cipollone. Been talking about Mr. Cipollone. He's the one that went running down the hall, remember? He said, you got to stop this thing. You got to stop this thing. In Ms. Hutchinson's testimony. We've had these stories now for a while now, and this is the guy who apparently now, new video testimony from him. Again, folks, I didn't see Mr. Cipollone's testimony, owing to the fact that, I've been doing cardiac echo exams today, my day job. I'm finding out this as I'm reading it. As it's coming out of my mouth, I'm learning about these unbelievable facts for the first time. According to this new testimony, video testimony, Trump, former White House counsel, recalling the explosive meeting at the White House when Trump's outside legal team brought a draft executive order to seize the voting machines of various states. A terrible idea, he said, Mr. Cipollone. Yeah, this is a rotten, terrible idea. By a sitting president of the United States to do something like that would be a terrible thing. It would be basically, especially after Mr. Biden won the election, it would basically be a coup d'etat in our country, is what it sounds like to me. That's right. So Mr. Cipollone testified that's not how we do things in the United States. And indeed, the man's correct in that. We don't do that here. Here in the United States, as John Adams said in the great speech I featured this past Sunday on Sunday Sunrise, we live in a land, this is it's a rule of law, not the rule of men. It's a country based on laws. God bless America, I say. That's not how we do things in America. Anyway, another aide called the meeting unhinged. Now, Pat Cipollone and other White House officials scrambled to interview in the late-night meeting Trump was having with attorneys. Again, Sidney released the Kraken Powell. Sidney blow up Georgia Powell, extreme right-wing attorney, and Rudy Giuliani. Whatever happened to Rudy? Well, he fell into Trump's orbit. It's a long, long thing. I've had many stories about Rudy Giuliani and his behavior through all this. And, of course, a disgraced attorney basically had his law license pulled, unable to practice law, and really cut adrift by Trump. The whole Trump family was the last story that I had about that. And no longer working as anyone's attorney, obviously, since he had his law license pulled and disgraced widely known information and other things. I'm not going to even talk about his personal life right now. I heard he might have been featured. Anyway, Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani. And also got a get-out-of-jail-free card. Michael Flynn was involved. Oh, the stories about Michael Flynn that have come up on this show. All these wacky things. Of course, another guy, Steve Bannon. Again, another wacky guy. He already used his get-out-of-jail-free card. His trial's next week for failure to appear before the select committee. And now the Joker, like a day or two before, he's saying, I'll be more than happy to testify, And the judge is like, in that case, is like, no, thank you. We're keeping your original date for next week, This wasn't about whether he testified. This is about punishment for what he did the first time, which was, he was non-cooperative to a subpoena legally issued by the United States House of Representatives. So, got a big problem. He'll have to face the consequences. It could mean for him, well, maybe he'll also get a slap on the wrist, a fine, maybe some probation, Maybe he'll have to have one of those things attached to his ankle or some kind of thing. If he gets any jail time at all, which I doubt, it'll probably be like a federal prison, like a country club kind of prison thing for Steve Bannon. The one that, again, Rachel Maddow was talking about last night on her show when she said, man, small podcast guy. Again, his war rooms funded by the MyPillow guy. You got it. Now, this whole thing, Flynn somehow involved in this thing. This story's about Overstock. Oh, my goodness gracious. I remember I've had this story. And yes, the head of the online retail company, Overstock, somehow involved in it. It erupted in shouting and screaming. Another aide testified. Now, Pat Cipollone says, where is the evidence, demanded for all these false claims that you have regarding voter fraud? Where is this evidence? I like to drop his name because I have an admiration for the late, great Carl Sagan. He used to say, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So where's your evidence? Where's your documentation? You know, what are you talking about? Anyway, there's no evidence, and that's why these judges have thrown these things out left and right when they've come before those judges and all those 60. Remember the 6 failed Trump cases where nothing was proven, nothing was shown. You got to have evidence. Now, says what they were proposing I thought was nuts, testified another White House official, an Eric Hirschman. But Trump was intrigued and essentially told his White House lawyers that at least Sidney Powell and other outside Trump allies on the right were trying to do something. Rudy Giuliani says in his testimony, you guys are not tough enough. You guys are P, and then it's ... Now, wow, that could be a lot of curse words. It says using crass language. If I knew the word, I might say it here if I announced it ahead of time. You guys are P, you know, whatever. I think I know what it is, but I'm not going to guess at that. I'm not going to guess at that at all. Now, as night turned to morning, Trump tweeted the call for his supporters to come to Washington on January the 6th, when Congress would be tallying the Electoral College results. Be there, will be wild, he wrote. Immediately, the extremists reacted. The panel showed the graphic and violent text messages, played the videos of right-wing figures, including Alex Jones and others, laying out that January the 6th would be the day they fight for the president in vulgar and often racist language, like the kind of language that the guy who threatened Representative Omar used in his email, that kind of language. The messages beaming across the far-right forums planned for that big day. They said Trump was asking everyone to go. He said it would be a, quote, red wedding, said one, and bring handcuffs, I guess, said another. Several members of the United States Capitol Police, again, and the Metro Police, both of them heroes in my eyes for how they, well, against impossible odds that day, stood up to the violence of the insurrectionists on that day. Several members of them who fought as well as they could that day, they sat stone-faced in the front row of the committee room. Representative Jamie Raskin, in his opening remarks, said the problem of politicians whipping up mob violence to destroy fair elections is the oldest domestic enemy of constitutional democracy. At the witness table to testify in person was Jason Van Tatenhove, an ally of Oath Keepers leader Stuart Rhodes. Another witness was Stephen Ayers, who pleaded guilty last month to disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building. He has said that on January the 2nd, 2021, he posted an image stating that Trump was calling on us to come back to Washington on January the 6th for the big protest. The committee is probing whether the extremist groups, including the Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, and QAnon adherents who had rallied for Trump before, coordinated with the White House for January the 6th. The Oath Keepers have denied there was any plan to storm the Capitol. The committee began the second half of the hearing making connections between Trump allies, Flynn and Roger Stone, and the extremist groups who were preparing to come to Washington that day. It showed pictures of Rhodes, the Oath Keepers leader, walking with Flynn together, the former national security aide, again, disgraced former national security aide, to, of course, Trump outside the Capitol. This was the only hearing this week as new details emerge. An expected primetime hearing Thursday has been shelved for now. This week's session, which is a blockbuster session, comes after former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson provided stunning accounts under oath of an angry Trump who knowingly sent armed supporters to the Capitol. Recall, he had the magnetometers turned off. That's right, the metal detectors. No screening for people to his rally on the Ellipse before the failed insurrection. He wanted them armed. Trump has said that Miss Hutchinson's account is not true. but that's coming from Trump. But Pat Cipollone at Friday's private session did not contradict earlier testimony. Mr. Raskin said the panel planned to use a lot of Pat Cipollone's testimony. And again, I heard him this morning on Morning Joe, where he was saying, from what I heard, that he did not contradict Cassidy Hutchinson at all, but rather corroborated her testimony. Now, the Proud Boys have said their membership grew after Trump during his first debate with Biden. Well, that was that debacle in Cleveland. I didn't even call it a debate. That was the debacle in Cleveland. Yeah, absolutely. It was, it was narrated or however, hosted by Chris Matthews not Chris Matthews. It was, what was that guy's name? It's coming to me. It'll come to me. And when I get it, then I'll feel really stupid. Wallace. It was Chris Wallace, And he had prepped for it all night long. And then basically it was ruined pretty much mostly by Trump. Constant interruptions. Nothing was said between these two candidates at all. It was a complete debacle. The debacle in Cleveland, and it wasn't Mr. Wallace's fault at all. That was my opinion. But yeah, I had that for some reason. The other guy, Matthews, he's over at MSNBC, or was. I think he retired now. The Oath Keepers. Back into talking about the Oath Keepers. Yeah. They had been organizing for this date and established a quick response force at a nearby hotel in Virginia, according to the court filings. Weapons. Did they have weapons? You bet they have a lot of weapons. Oath Keepers, all of the insurrectionist militia groups have weapons. Sure, they have weapons now. The panel also noted that many of the Trump supporters who stormed the Capitol appeared to be QAnon believers. Again, that's a bunch of nonsense going all the way back to Pizzagate. Yeah, some joker made up a story, and they call him QAnon or whatever. There is no QAnon. It's a fake story. It's probably some guy that's 400 pounds in his mom's basement eating a huge bag of Cheetos. There is no QAnon. This guy makes up a story, There's a pizza parlor in Washington, D.C., and in the basement of that establishment, there's a bunch of crazy, wacky, satanic pedophiles down in the basement, and they've taken kids. So here comes one of these wacky QAnon people with a firearm into this guy's establishment. And he says, "Where's the kids? I'm here to free them. I'm freeing them." And the guy said, "I'm just making the pizza pie." There is no basement in the establishment. A made-up online story. One of the conspiracy fairy tales that QAnon and other people weave on a constant basis. Believe me. Unbelievable. I'm not going to go down that road of talking about fake stuff, like I mentioned already. Now, federal authorities have explicitly linked at least 38 rioters to the pro-Trump conspiracy theory, QAnon, according to AP. One of the most recognizable figures from the attack was the shirtless Arizona man who called himself, again, I mentioned this guy already. How many times I got to name drop him? The so-called QAnon shaman. That's the one, with the Viking hat and the horns coming out of his head and the war paint and all that stuff. Yeah, he had that war paint on, whack. There was so many of them that day. And the story I'm going to read just a little bit. I'm not done by a long shot. Once again, about the woman who the judge said no when they said, "Can you please drop a charge?" No. This is a very serious thing. And so, yeah, she likewise one of the superstars of the failed insurrection of January 6th. So, too, the QAnon shaman. Shame on them. Shame on them. I'm serious when I say that. The panel has shown over the course of fast-paced hearings and with eyewitness accounts from the former president's inner circle that Trump was told over and over and over, as Vice Chair Liz Cheney said, that he had lost the election. You get it? You lost. You lost the election. Never picked up the phone. Never conceded. Never called Mr. Biden, and wished him well moving forward with his administration. Not at all. Never bought it. Can't accept it. As Morning Joe said, the guy can't stand to think the fact that he's a loser and he lost. He's got to get on to that. Nevertheless, Trump summoned his supporters to Washington and then sent them to the Capitol in what panel chairman Benny Thompson of Mississippi has called an attempted coup. Well, I've been using that word too. I usually like to go for failed insurrection, but that's another one that I would definitely go. Now I take a brief break, and when I come back, this whole thing I reported again by the newspaper in Pittsburgh, although again, they did say I was blocked. I'll find that story via another publication. I certainly will, as I've done before. You know, they want me to start a subscription, 99 cents. And if I did that, folks, again, I'm not a rich guy. I can't afford that kind of a thing where I sign up for all these things. I'll be right back. You're listening to The Morning Show. All right, because I emailed it to myself, it's opening up again, like it doesn't know that it gave me that message about the 99 cent subscription. I want to see how long I can get, going on this thing, so absolutely. So, United States judge refuses to dismiss a key count against the pink hat lady. You got all these, again, there's very interesting characters out there. The pink hat lady, the QAnon shaman, they've all got their thing. Remember the story about the guy that sat in Speaker Pelosi's chair in her office with his legs up there, stole her laptop. I mean, there's been so many interesting stories of these 800 plus defendants, unless that number has moved to 900. That number, too, I've been tracking as it goes up. I think it's around 850 now, but that would be my best guess. I bet it's pretty accurate. A federal judge on Friday refused to dismiss a count of obstruction of an official proceeding against accused Capitol. They want to call her rioter. I don't use that term too much, the whole riot thing. I don't. I'll just call her an insurrectionist then. Insurrectionist Rachel Powell saying that she had joined her almost uniformly unsuccessful fellow January the 6th defendants in trying to get that count tossed out. That's right. That's what the judge said. United States District Judge Royce Lamberth said that, and he went on to say, today, this court will add to that ocean of text by once again denying this motion to dismiss. Now, Ms. Powell, a Mercer County mother of 8 who picked up the monikers, she's got 2 monikers, that's fantastic. One of them, the pink hat lady, and the other one, the bullhorn lady, for her actions on January 6th. I guess it involved the use of a bullhorn then, obviously, as well as the hat. Now, she's accused of 8 crimes in relation to, again, attacking the Capitol in support of Donald Trump's repeated lies about the 2020 election. One of them is obstruction of an official proceeding. Some 800, okay, they're using some 800. That's about what I said, right? Some 800 Capitol rioters have been charged in the FBI investigation, and many of them have argued that obstruction count should be dismissed. Naturally, they want that count dismissed. It'd probably like 2 or 3 or 4 dismissed, if they could get it, but they wanted that one because they say the meeting of Congress to certify Joe Biden's official victory was not an official proceeding. Now, I don't know. I mean, to me, I'm again not in government. I'm just an ecotech. But to me, that proceeding, to actually count and certify on January 6th Joe Biden's official victory, that seemed to me to be pretty darn official. Anyway, Judge Lamberth rejected the argument of the attorneys of these people that have tried to make that argument. He said, as the court explained before, and as every court in this district has to address the issue, found that vote certification was an official proceeding as contemplated by federal law. And I suppose the judge would know, obviously, that is clearly an official proceeding. He said Ms. Powell rammed a 10-foot pipe through a window of the Capitol building in an attempt to get in to disrupt the certification of Mr. Biden's win, and later yelled at other rioters through a bullhorn about the layout of the building to help them take over. Video clearly captures her enthusiastic participation in these crimes, the judge said, noting that she gleefully celebrated the breach once inside.
Ms. Powell and her lawyer said the certification was not an official proceeding, that her conduct did not violate the integrity of evidence standard, and that the term corruptly, as used in the statute, is too vague. Ms. Powell had argued that an official proceeding by Congress has to involve inquiry and investigation. The judge said, no, it does not. On the evidence issue, Ms. Powell said the law in question only criminalizes acts that affect the integrity or availability of evidence. Can you believe these people? Going on to say, in a proceeding, and cited a ruling from another Washington judge who dismissed an obstruction count, I guess of one of the other insurrectionists across town, the only one to have done so. Now, Judge Lamberth said he's already addressed that decision and disagreed with it the first time, saying there's no support for that contention. In addressing the corrupt argument, Ms. Powell said the judge should dismiss the obstruction count. This kind of reminds me of A Few Good Men, where, again, I don't want to pick on Commander Joe Galloway, where she objects and then she strenuously objects. And then the judge says, listen, the man's an expert and we will have his testimony, the doctor on the stand or whatever. But, Your Honor, I object. The court has heard your objection and it's overruled. It's like moving on, to other things. Unbelievable. Now, in addressing the corrupt argument, again, Ms. Powell said the judge should dismiss the obstruction count because the charge doesn't allege what material advantage Ms. Powell would gain by the obstruction, and so she could not have acted corruptly. I don't understand her thinking at all on this, man. Now, the judge tossed that argument out the window, saying numerous appellate decisions have held that corruptly is not unconstitutionally vague. Prosecutors say Ms. Powell, who remains under court supervision pending trial, is dangerous. She's a danger, Ms. Powell. Jeez, how many times I got to say it now? In addition to smashing into the Capitol, involving herself with the insurrection of her own free will, she chose to involve herself in the insurrection, and directing others on where to go through with her bullhorn. She had posted a comment on Facebook, October 2020, in which she said, the only way this is probably capable of being fixed is bloodshed, because I'm not so sure our government can be fixed the political way anymore either. After the riot, she said on Facebook that the legal route wasn't working and that it's time to rise. Now, Ms. Powell, a dangerous person, as the prosecutor said, had also left her children unattended to travel to Washington, and later gave an interview to the New Yorker while the FBI was looking for her. Prosecutors said, yes, public person looking for publicity. Now, that reminds me, of course, the other day when it was one of the leaders, I can't remember the man's name, one of the leaders of these militia group people who wanted to, they wanted to testify before the select committee, but they required a nationally televised audience. And that's a non-starter. That's not what the select committee is about, is giving PR to these people on the extreme far right and these militia groups. So that's not going to happen. Now, Ms. Powell is about 24 people from the Pittsburgh area that have been charged in the failed insurrection. An FBI search of her home revealed go bags, gun paraphernalia, ammunition, and shuriken throwing stars. I know what those are, yeah. Now, Ms. Powell had also left I mentioned that, her children unattended. And, I'm just going to move on from the whole thing. That's just one of those nonsense stories about the defendants in the failed insurrection. To me, that to me would make a great book if someone would write it, just to look at all these defendants and their stories and their wacky stuff and the things that happened in their their criminal lawsuit, going from the government. A lot of trouble is what they got themselves into. I'll tell you that. I'll be right back in a moment. There's the time. It's 7:11 p.m. and I'm out of here, So, I'm just going to finish off with a song, and I'm thinking about let's do that Cheers song, the Cheers from the television show Cheers, the expanded version with Gary, posted out there by Gary Portnoy.
Taking your way in the world today takes everything you've got. check is in the mail, and your little angel hung the cat up by its tail, and your third fiancé didn't show. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see the troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. Pull out of bed, Mr. Coffee's dead. The morning's looking bright. And your shrink ran off to Europe and didn't even write. And your husband wants to be a girl. Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna go where people know people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. Where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came.
All right, I'd like to thank you for coming and listening to my show today at apartmentkaraoke.com, the morning show. Hope you'll join me again tomorrow on the program. Have a great night, everyone. Bye-bye.